Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Premier. Given that on average one Australian woman is murdered by her current or former partner every week, are you satisfied that the current level of priority and resourcing for domestic violence services in New South Wales is adequate enough to protect women from being killed in this state?
Premier, and this is a serious question. I want proper silence.
Mr Speaker, I do thank the member for Newtown for the question, and I think all of us across the state and across the nation were shocked to the core at the tragic deaths of Hannah Clark and her beautiful 3 children. And it brought home to us the devastating impacts of domestic violence. But if you look at the statistics, too many women and men, and now unfortunately elder abuse is a big issue as well in relation to domestic violence. The numbers are way too high. Of course, all governments can do better, and that includes our government. But, Mr Speaker, I did feel it was important to place on the record the priority that our government has given to dealing with domestic violence issues in relation to protecting lives, saving lives, but also ensuring perpetrators are dealt with in the best possible way. I want to state at the outset and pay due credit to both previous Minister Prue Gowd, who worked on ensuring that domestic violence received a whole-of-government priority. And for the first time, she was, I understand, the first minister specifically dedicated to domestic violence in New South Wales. I also want to commend the actions of the Attorney-General, Mark Speakman, who is very passionate about this issue and has been at the forefront of debate within government and also within policy areas on this issue. I also wanted to stress to the House, in case members haven't had a chance to look at the Premier's priorities, that I did actually identify domestic violence as one of the priorities that I want to focus on and I want the government to focus on. As part of the Premier's priorities, we've set ourselves an ambitious target to reduce the number of domestic violence reoffenders by 25%, because unfortunately we find that once people offend, they have a tendency to reoffend. And we want to ensure that we address that target in the first instance, as well as obviously looking at different ways in which we can reduce the incidents. Whilst the number of domestic violence assault reoffences has declined or is declining, we know that we need to do more, and we need to ensure that all people in the system are protected. And a particular aspect that I'm especially proud of is the work that the Police Commissioner did. Oh, sorry.
Member for Newtown rises on a point of order.
No, restore funding to the refugees.
Thank you, Speaker. And it is 129 its relevance. I really appreciate that the Premier is outlining what has been done by the government. I think all of us that pay attention to issues of domestic violence are completely aware of the current things that are done. What I'm asking you is, are you satisfied that this is enough to stop women being killed in this state?
No.
Premier.
Mr Speaker, I just want to alert the member for Newtown in case she may not have heard my comment, but I did say that all governments have to do better, including our government, and that was, I think, the first statement I made. So absolutely, but what I am doing is addressing why we've taken a whole-of-government approach, why we've made it a Premier's priorities. And when you make something a Premier's priorities, it means that all agencies, irrespective of where they sit in government, have to actually aim towards this target, because it goes across a whole range of social issues, and also it goes across education and health, and a number of ministers have responsibility in part for this important area of public policy. But I do want to say that at the moment I'm heartened by the fact that not only have we addressed or are addressing the social issues which contribute to this scourge, but the Police Commissioner in his former capacity actually dealt with domestic violence as a priority with the New South Wales Police Force, and he has also been instrumental in ensuring that victims are able to be protected and have the courage to actually talk about their experience, so that people who are offending are dealt with in the justice system appropriately. But Mr Speaker, I also wanted to address, in relation to the member for Newtown's comments, that New South Wales did join Our Watch last year, which is an important organisation which has a national approach dealing with issues, because I think the important thing is none of us, no jurisdiction has all the answers, and what we need to do is identify what is working in certain jurisdictions and apply that across the board. I also want to stress that we have introduced legislation but also reforms in relation to how perpetrators are held to account, but also, more importantly, the victims have the courage to get assistance. And of course, I also want to commend ministers who've been involved with supporting victims in relation to accommodation and other support services. And we've ensured that we are looking at all those issues to ensure that people have the courage to actually get out of a relationship if and when they have to, so that they don't have to confront those ongoing issues, because often concerns for their safety of their children, or the safety of ensuring a roof over their head, or economic freedom are all challenges which actually can contribute to someone feeling they can't change their circumstances. But Mr Speaker, I thank the member for her question, but also stress that of course all governments can do more. And unfortunately, it's when tragedies like this strike that it does cut to the core to all of us to think about what we can do more. And I think, more importantly, I want to assure the member that whether it's through the justice system, whether it's through the social services we provide, that we do have a whole-of-government approach. We do have targets we've set, but can we do more? Of course we can, and it's by looking at what's best practice around Australia, around the world, that we can ensure at least New South Wales is doing its best to reduce these incidents. And I do want to stress that whilst the vast majority of victims are women, we also need to be mindful that domestic violence, unfortunately, does affect other people in the family, and that we need to be mindful of that as well.